Welcome back, everybody, to the Z-Man Show. I'm Mike here as we continue to discuss through our how to make a zombie film. So this is part 2.3. What I want to talk about today are prosthetics, okay? And I want to give you some different places where you can go and purchase these awesome pieces and start to make your actors come to life. So I'm going to talk about a few different pieces today, and a lot of them are going to be from a company called Nimba Creations, okay? Excuse me, because I'm getting over a cold here. Nimba Creations is a UK-based company, so you will have to order these from across the seas, but they're fully legit. Their prosthetics are amazing and look really, really good. They come in different forms, everything from the gelatin, which is like usually a one-time use, unless you're very, very careful, or even silicone, where you can use them multiple times over and over. And so this one right here is the ripped face prosthetic. And it's meant to be for, so your left-hand side of your face, okay? And as you put it up here, as you see, it's going to come across the bottom and top lip, show some exposed teeth, and then it wraps around the side of the jawline. And it is a great looking piece. I've used this piece particularly, I think 4 or 5 times on my set already, so it's paid for itself. Some and then some. It originally goes for around $31 on their site, but that's for the gelatin one. The silicone one is only like $10 more. So if you have even the possibility of using this 2 times, absolutely pay the extra $10 and get the silicone version. I would suggest that this is for anyone from a small face to probably a large face would fit as well. It's pretty versatile, and remember, you can always, when you're using this over and over, if the edges start to get a little thick and whatnot, you can always use, like I said, really thin strips of like tissue paper and use liquid latex around the edge to adhere it down, and it'll help adhere your appliance all the better. So again, that's the ripped face and torn face, I should say, and it's a pretty cool prosthetic on Nimbus site. So don't forget about the uses between gelatin and silicone. So I did mention in a review before that gelatin appliances probably can be used again, but you have to be very, very careful and make sure that your actors know that you hope to try and salvage these. Make this well known before your shoot even starts, okay? As you're applying these, say, hey, we want to make sure we're really careful taking these off, and you might be able to salvage, like this one right here. I believe I've used this actually 2 or 3 times. I know it's been at least 2, but as you can see, it's getting discolored. It has a lot of makeup discoloration. The gelatin itself is starting to become discolored because as soon as this hits water, so pretty much, you know, once you get done with your shoot and all the glues and then all the makeup is still plastered all over it, I try to get it into the sink for a few seconds, and I mean no more than 15-20 seconds, guys. And you can use like a scrub brush, like you're doing your dishes or forth, just with bristles and not like a heavy one, and then just kind of go over really quickly, and then basically pat it dry immediately and powder it. And if you do that, you might be able to salvage these gelatin ones for an extra 1 to 2 shoots. It is possible. So this one, I think they call this the exposed teeth set. So it's a 2-piece. Okay, it's meant to come in 2 pieces. So one goes on the lower, one goes on the upper. Right? So it's a pretty cool piece. I don't know if you guys can see it perfectly, but as you can see, I'm getting some rips and tears over here in the corners, and yeah, I should be. Again, I've used this piece 2 or 3 times when it was only meant to be used once in itself. So they don't make the exposed teeth and a silicone, but they have another cool one, which I'll show you in just a moment here, which pretty much achieves this look, and it's just a 1-piece. So the exposed teeth, though, I do like. What's interesting about this one is, I noticed, so this one's meant for probably a medium to large scale face. Small, you could probably work it out, but anyways, you're going to be having to maneuver some things around, you know, when you try to adhere to them. Like, usually the hard time you're going to have is like around the chin. Some of them it ends above, some it ends below. Since I have a bigger face, usually it ends above. But anything can be blended in as long as you just keep working at it, right? So, but what happened with this one, real quick story, I was using this on my sister, and this started to loosen over time. But what was cool was it loosened so much that it looked like she had an exposed, like, broken jaw, and it was like dropped down a little bit, and she tried to push it back onto right here, but it just, so finally what I did just moments before we had to get her on the shoot, which I think was episode 2 or 3, or it's when the zombies are basically walking down the street. But anyways, I basically poured a bunch of fake blood into the little cavity so that it hit her skin color and her lip, and it basically looked like it was just this exposed, torn jaw, just kind of dripping with blood. It worked out very, very well. So that was just a cool on-the-spot maneuver that you can try and do. So that's the exposed teeth. So just as I was talking about the exposed teeth, that was the gelatin version. It goes around $21. This is the silicone version, okay? So as you can see, it's a full one piece, okay? And this one's meant, I think, for a smaller to medium face, okay? Because I consider my face larger, and although this could be used on mine, what happens is that the cavity for the chin, where it should be down here, actually ends up getting adhered a lot farther up, which kind of works to my advantage because it kind of fits in there pretty nicely. But the most important thing is when you're putting on these prosthetics is to make sure that the lips and the teeth, either protrude and go over the top of the lip and then over the bottom of the lip. If not, you're going to see that flesh tone, and you're going to need to make sure that you use some kind of grease or the water-based makeup or whatever you want to use, but to darken those areas so that their lips aren't fully exposed. I think the win is to pretty much take your time and do it right the first time when you're hearing this. Make sure to glue up all of this position. Oh, well, first, put the prosthetic on the face, right? We talked about taking the powder and going around the outskirts, right? And that kind of gives you an outline of where your glue should be. Basically, glue up your face, glue up this. I'll let it dry up. You can use a hairdryer to kind of hurry up the process. And then slowly adhere this, but try not to leave any air pockets, because this is areas where they'll heat up over time and it'll cause moisture to build up, and then the appliance will slowly start to unadhere to the actor's face over time. But again, you can keep pushing it back down. It's because of that higher grade adhesives from Delicis I was telling you about in the last episode. But basically, if you just want to see what this looks like right quick. So I have, yeah, there it is. So it fits me, okay? For a larger face, this does work. But just know what you're getting into when you see these. I mean, it's really hard to tell on the website what kind of size face you're going to be working with, if it's going to work with your actor, okay? And because it does not say. It does not tell you. You're pretty much at the mercy of when you receive these. And you don't want to get these last second, and get your actor over and be like, oh, God, this doesn't fit. I remember I had pre-painted up a bunch of these, including a zombie brow, which I'll show you next. And the zombie brow, which is right here, basically goes over the eyes and the nose and gives this sunken in look, right? And I got a few of these females, and their faces were smaller scaled, and these were just way too big, and so I had to trim them down a bit, which then caused the edges to be a little thicker because they weren't thinned out, and it was just unexpected and caused me a lot of extra time to try and make them work on the last minute. So this is the zombie brow. It's pretty impressive, actually, the way they thicken the edges around the lower eyes and then above to give them that sunken in look. But I'm not going to lie to you, everybody. This is a pain in the ass to adhere around the eyes. So when you glue up this prosthetic, so remember, do the same process as before. Put the prosthetic onto the actor's face, powder around it so that you get the outline. You can also guesstimate it too if you want. Sometimes I do, to be honest. But basically get that glue on, get a glue on here, get it dried up, make sure it's nice and tacky, and then start to apply this from the center outward, okay? So as this goes on, and you're going to have to be careful, man. It is so easy to accidentally drop this on a place of the actor's face, and it's like, oh, and then it starts peeling the glue, and then now that's not a good adhesion because now you got to peel that back up. And yes, of course, you can re-glue, but it's just a pain in the butt. So you want to start adhering around this area right here. Sorry, I don't mean to be giving you guys the middle finger. And make sure there's no air pockets. Get it nice and solid, and then, start to adhere outward from there. And make sure it's getting nice and even. If you don't go slowly and nice and even, you're going to get some weird raises, with the prosthetic because it didn't glue in the right place, and it just turns into a big pain in the butt. So as for the eyes, do those last. I mean, you can get some of the glue up and around, but usually that glue, the vapors and stuff will sting, so I highly suggest having a fan on, so that way it cools your actors, but two, pardon me, it will actually waft the glue smells and so forth onward and not overwhelm their senses, because it's definitely, it's not good. It's not great, but it's definitely doable. So just warn your actors ahead of time and let them know what they're in for. And furthermore, let them know what they're in for the entire film, because you're going to have these people on set for most of the day, right? And because of continuity, you want to try and get their scenes done first, the zombies, right? But the problem is while you're shooting them, you're usually getting your actors maybe bloodied up. It's possible, right? Or their clothes could get changed, and so then when you go back to shoot the actors' scenes, well, it's going to look like they've already been in battle. So you have to be very careful with continuity if you want to make sure that everything makes sense. So when this comes to the zombie brow, the gelatin version goes for around $35, I think it is. The silicone one goes for $60. But again, if you're going to even use this 2 times, the silicone one is fully worth the investment. You can use this multiple times. I'm not just talking 2 times. Some of these I've used 5 and 6 times on different people, but there is some work in cleaning these up after the shoot. You'll use your 99% isopropyl alcohol, and again, you can use some kind of sponge that you use to do your dishes with or so forth, and let this soak in the 99% isopropyl alcohol, and then just scrub it down. And the alcohol will not melt these, so that's good news, right? I mean, I wouldn't let them sit for extended periods of time. Get them in there, just let them soak for 5 minutes or so, and then just start scrubbing away. But still be careful. The edges, they can still rip. You gotta be mindful of that. But they're definitely usable, and the silicone ones are legit. I did start off by using just gelatin ones and learned very quickly I needed to save money because there would be multiple film shoots and I would need more prosthetics. So then I moved to the silicone. So on the Nimba Creations site, they have all different types. You can go to either their link for Halloween prosthetics or even silicone prosthetics, which is the silicone ones they have, and or there's one called Halloween prosthetics, which has just pretty much an array of everything. Even to a creepy clown, exposed teeth, like you're a madman without your lips ripped off. I did that before. I'll see if I can add a picture in there of myself that I did one Halloween. And also be mindful of these gelatin ones. So like I was telling you about the silicone ones, just to let it set that 99% isopropyl alcohol. If you set this in alcohol or even just some mildly warm water, like I said, to clean these, and you leave a gelatin piece in there, when you come back in about 5-10 minutes, it'll be a melted thing of gelatin. This stuff will melt right away. So I talked a lot about Nimba Creations today, and I wanted to also mention there's another site called mostlydead.com, and they have not quite the array that I think Nimba has, and also quality, but they have foam prosthetics. And remember, foam is a lighter material, and I think it's easier to adhere to the actors' faces. This one I've used like 7 times. I love this one. They stopped selling it, but they have other ones on their site called like the Ripped Face, I think it was, or Bloody Face. Anyways, it's something like that. But if you ever keep an eye on, you see one like looks like this and it's foam related. I think it was called a female torn face. But either way, this one was just amazing. But there are other foam ones out there. I highly suggest foam. So mostlydead.com. It's another site. I am not affiliated with Nimba, nor Mostly Dead, or any of these. These are all things that I've just worked with over the last 4 to 5 years on my zombie shoots, and the things I think I would recommend to you all to actually purchase and use on your shoots as well. Also, there's another site called rbfx.com. Now, mind you, RBFX, they are legit. I mean, they have an amazing array, everything from aliens and monsters to zombies. They look amazing, and a lot of them are full facial ones, and some of them even full masks that go around. But you are going to pay for it. I mean, there's one I was looking at, and again, it's just like a full zombie face, kind of like the ones that are on mostlydead.com. And these range in the upwards of $225, $250, $300, $400. So now you're really getting legit. Like, okay, you're going to be spending some money for these. So again, if you really want to impress your audience and you want to really get into the makeup and make your actors come alive, they have some really cool things you can do. Even zombie hands and things that you can add to layer those on. But anyways, it's just something to think about when you're going through your process of the makeup. So I hope you enjoyed some of these pieces I showed you today, and hopefully gives you a little bit of insight to what you might be looking for. Remember, working with your different face sizes for your actors, and just get a different variety, because obviously they're going to be able to tell, probably your audience that is, if it's maybe the same prosthetic and whatnot. So try to get 3 or 4 different types that you can use, and remember, if the zombies are just going to be in the background anyways, there's probably not worth putting a whole lot of time into the makeup and adding really fancy prosthetics and zombie contacts to them if they're not really going to be having any close-ups done on them. I've made that mistake before, just getting too excited. You want all the people to be part of the process, so you try to do the 9s on all of them. Yeah, definitely don't do that. It's a waste of money, and it's not needed. So if they're just kind of the background noise, kind of just showing that there's multiple zombies that are chasing them or this or that, add some fake blood to them. Definitely color up their faces with the makeup. Maybe use the liquid latex with the tissue paper, wrinkling it up. But other than that, I would just let them be, and let the ones that have the real close-up shots and the attack scenes, let them have all the contacts and the prosthetics on and the heavy makeup and blood and so forth like that. So again, this is Mike with the Z-Man Show. Again, I apologize, I'm nasally today. I just got, getting over a cold. But I hope you enjoyed this version 2.3, basically showing you the zombie prosthetics. There are still some more to show, and I'll show you those in some small videos in the future. Just kind of showing you the array of some other ones on Nimba's site, and if they're worth buying or not. And with that said, the next set we'll probably be moving into is, I think I'm going to go into audio. And let's just talk about what kind of audio gear I use, because it's a big piece of the puzzle, and also what websites you can use for some of your music and so forth. I may try and sneak that in. So, well, let's see how it goes. So make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and I will see you guys at the next part of how to make a zombie film. Rawr.